Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I am going to be talking about using Revit or SketchUp. Anyway, so obviously each of them have their own pros and cons of using the software. So I'm going to be explaining two software that you can use for advanced and for beginners. Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about Revit first. In Revit is a very good software, and it is the most commonly used software in architecture. If you're in the architecture field, you will definitely know about Revit a lot of times. And obviously most universities, they do give like tutorials about how to use Revit, etc. And it is one of the most, not just most commonly used, but also I can't find a word for it, but obviously, anyway, Revit is the most useful software, and learning it as soon as possible early on will have massive reward in the future. So what do I mean by massive reward? Okay, so in Revit you have basically, if you're going to create a floor plan in Revit, it automatically creates in 3D, so it is very useful, and you don't have to think about visualizing 3D straight away. So you can just click on the 3D view command in Revit and it will automatically be in 3D view. So that's very useful in Revit. The second thing about Revit is you can edit the material precisely in Revit, whatever millimeters, if you're in the metric unit, and I think it's inches if you are in the imperial units. So obviously those of you who are in, I think, Pakistan or America, or I think India, you guys are using imperial units. So obviously I'm in the UK and other countries, we're using metric units, so that's meters, millimeters, etc. Anyway, you can edit the materials precisely. It's very good for technical detailing in Revit. Okay, so obviously you can also align the walls and everything, so I won't go into too much detail in Revit, but obviously it is a very useful software. But the problem of using Revit is it is not beginner friendly, because it takes years to master. But obviously if you're an architecture student, then you can learn Revit about a month, so you don't need to be an expert. Okay, you can learn Revit in a month or 2 months or so, just to know how to model things so that you can do that in your own architectural project. Okay, now, yes, like I said, Revit is complicated and it takes years to master, and it has a steep learning curve. So obviously, like I said again, it is not beginner friendly, and it is also not that great for renders. Obviously, those of you who knows what is Lumion, so obviously Lumion is great software, rendering software for beginners. Revit is not good at it. Why? Because in Revit you can edit the materials internally and externally, but you don't really have much freedom on what kind of material you want to select, or what kind of services you want to select to change the material. So you don't have like a lot of freedom in Revit. So that is why, if you're a beginner, stay away from Revit. But obviously, if you really want to learn Revit because of whatever personal project or architectural project, or if you have to do it for your assignment, then yes, you can do that. Okay, now let's move on to SketchUp. SketchUp is beginner friendly, so I want you to start there. And it is easy, and obviously it is easy to learn. It doesn't have a lot of complicated software, so obviously stick to SketchUp. But the cons of using the SketchUp is it takes a long time to build a wall and build windows, not like Revit. So if, let's say again, you've got 2D floor plan, then you have to create all the walls manually, windows manually, the roof manually, not like Revit. Revit is kind of all automatic unless you know what you are doing. Now, SketchUp is very good for Lumion. Why? Because you can edit any materials you want. You can go on Google, type maybe, let's say you want to have a marble texture on the floor. You want to make a bathroom, for example. You can go on Google, type marble texture, I think seamless, that's what it's called, and you can download it, import it into SketchUp, or you can use the paint command, something like that. Like you can edit the materials using the paint, I think the materials section of SketchUp, and you can use it as paint, and you can use that on the wall. Very easy, very fast. So this is why I want you to stick to SketchUp in the beginning. Obviously, SketchUp is also very beginner friendly, like I said before, and it's very good for Lumion. In Lumion, obviously, I talked about in my previous videos about what the hybrid system is and what I use. And you always hear, I think in the last 2 videos, you always hear that I mentioned SketchUp and then Lumion. Why? Because SketchUp is able to edit materials that you can render, and it has more freedom to render the materials that you want. So obviously you can look previously in my video and then watch my video very carefully about the hybrid system and what software to use for renders. Anyway, now obviously let's get back to Revit and SketchUp. Revit and SketchUp both have each pros and cons, but to clarify this, it really depends on what you want to do. Let's say the job requirement asks for just Revit, AutoCAD, Photoshop, InDesign, for example. Okay? Then yes, you can learn Revit, of course, but slowly learn the software. Obviously, I'm not here to scare you because it takes years to master. It only takes years to master if you have experience. If you have experience, then you will get better at it. So I will only allow you to use Revit if you really want to learn Revit, and it depends on the job you want to do. But obviously, if you don't want to learn Revit, that's okay. Then I want you to stick to SketchUp. So obviously in architecture school, they give us more freedom to what kind of software we want to use. But obviously, if the module of the university says you have to learn Rhino, or you have to learn SketchUp, or you have to learn Revit, then yes, stick to that. But if they don't have any module that is related to specific learning software you have to learn, then no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, if there aren't any module that states which software you have to learn, then you can learn any software you want. Revit, SketchUp, 3ds Max, etc. Obviously, in this video, I talked about Revit and SketchUp. So you can again watch back to my previous video how I explain different softwares, how the hybrid system work. And yeah, I think that's today for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, if you are interested in having coaching with me on using the hybrid system, so obviously I will guide you from how to go from modeling straight to renders for complete beginners, total beginners. And obviously I'm looking for 5 people to coach so that I can give them the best experience they can use, the best experience they can render for total 5 people, for total beginners. So yeah, if you are interested, again, if you are interested in working with me, book a link down below so we can have a chat together to see where we can make your render happen. So yeah, I want to say thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.